Ready to go!
Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another YouTube video. In this video today, we're going to be looking at the 4 fundamentals of arm wrestling, and I have hand selected my favorites, my favorite arm wrestling moments of all time that highlight a dominant version of each particular fundamental. Now, of course, the fundamentals that we're talking about, we've got pronation, we've got back pressure, we've got wrist flexion, and we have side pressure. So the good thing about fundamentals is you can win a match with one single dominant fundamental. You can have a balance of all 4 of them, of course, but there have been many different athletes in the history of the sport that have done incredibly well with one dominant fundamental. And some of those athletes are going to feature today. But also, some of the athletes featuring today are incredibly well-rounded, but they utilize one particular fundamental incredibly well in this video or in this match, in the moment that I'm about to show you. So, I don't know what your favorite fundamental is. I think mine's pronation. I'm not so much sure. Side pressure is very fun. But anyway, let's have a look at the 4 fundamentals and highlight each of them in a great match in the sporting history. All right, here we go. All right, this first fundamental, you can see here, before I press play on this match, you can see it's Hadzimir Zoloyev from Russia on the left of screen up against the greatest arm wrestler of all time, John Brzenk. Now, can you guess which fundamental we're about to show you? That's right, you guessed it, it's pronation. Okay, watch what happens in this match. Now, I want to give you a little bit of context before it. John misses the jump on this start. I'm not sure if he was just caught napping, if the rent went early, but this match, off the go, Zoloyev puts it deep into a hook, and then watch the pronation of John Brzenk take over. All right, here we go. See it down in the hook, and there it is, massive pronation from John. Absolutely. Let's look at it one more time in slow motion. Into the hook. John misses the start and just says, nope, here it comes. The pronation. Too good. The greatest of all time. The best pronation of all time. Getting the job done. Amazing stuff. All right, let's have a look now at another one. Now this one here, okay, I was only going to show one video for each fundamental, but I couldn't go past this match from the 2017 World Arm Wrestling Championships. Now, this is, of course, Sabin Badalescu on the left of the screen from Romania. It is Levan Sanganishvili, the world's most dominant arm wrestler, Levan Sanganishvili, on the right of the screen from Georgia. And I believe this is, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, YouTube, but I believe, without doing an incredible amount of research, I believe this is the last time Levan Sanganishvili was pinned. Now, this is a different type of pronation. Once again, we're still in the pronation category. This is a different style of pronation from Sabin than we just saw from John. What we saw from John was in a hook, cupped a wrist flexion position, and then a big reversal. This one is about flat wrist pronation. It's a very different pronation. Okay, we've got pronators up the top of our wrist, we've got pronators down the bottom. The twisting pronation that we're about to see from Sabin is what prevents from Levan from even bending his wrist in the first place. I honestly believe Sabin Badalescu is probably I can't say he's the best. I think he's potentially the second best open arm top roller. Now note that I don't say King's move. Sabin never goes into a King's move here. This is very much an open arm top roll, and it's very much a flat wristed twisting pronation. It's an amazing effort. Let's watch it unfold. Big drive from Levan, but you can see the wrist stays flat. The wrist stays flat, and Sabin pronates. Levan unable to get a cup, unable to top roll, and the pronation from Sabin getting through Levan, and he celebrates as you would expect. Very impressive. Here's the replay one more time. You can see again Sabin Badalescu's pronation from that flat wristed position really prevents the wrist flexion from Levan, and it forces Levan to try to rise and roll himself, and he wasn't set for that. Sabin adds the side pressure to finish. Amazing stuff. All right, now here we have another example. You can see on the left of screen, here we are actually moving on to a different fundamental. Now, can you guess it? Once again, there's only 2 left. You should be able to work it out based on who is on the screen here. But we've got, of course, Latvia's Vlad the Destroyer, Vladislav Krasovskis on the left of screen. This guy is an absolute dynamite arm wrestler. I think he's, in this video, I think he was about 82, 83 kilos at the heaviest, where he's up against Mike Aiello from the United States, one of the most, I guess, dominant arm wrestlers, consistent arm wrestlers out of USA, an exceptional hooker. And yeah, this is a great example of course, back pressure. So Vladislav Vlad the Destroyer, let's just stick with that. Watch the way that he uses back pressure to deny the hand and wrist and the hook of Mike Aiello. Here we go. Ready to go, moments away. It's gonna be quick. Bang, back pressure. Now, I have to show you this one again in slow motion because Vlad the Destroyer is so quick at executing this that we don't get the chance to see how he uses that back pressure as the dominant fundamental against Mike. Now, this one is in quite significant slow-mo. Watch that as the go happens, Vlad's back pressure just prevents entirely the ability for Mike to actually cup and supinate. And whilst Mike is trying to cup and supinate, Vlad is already halfway to the finish line and on his way to getting the job done. Let's watch in slow-mo. Okay, nice and slow. Here it comes. And the go happens. The back pressure fills the fingers and the wrist flexion of Mike, and it is over before Mike can get any purchase on. All right. Now, the last one here, you've just seen a little sneaky preview of it. The last fundamental is, of course, wrist flexion. Now, this match right here, probably one of the greatest matches of all time in WAF history. This is, I think, the 2013 WAF World Arm Wrestling Federation, that is, World Championships in Brazil. Now, on the left of the screen, we have Krasimir Kostadinov of Bulgaria, one of the all-time greats of the sport, undoubtedly, and absolutely known for his wrist flexion and his hook. And he's up against Russia's Arsen Liliev, who at the time was one of the most dominant people in the world. He was one of the very few people to have pins on John Brzezinski and pins on Denis Saplenkov, and he did it with massive explosive back pressure and pronation. But on this day, Krasimir Kostadinov goes on to win the gold medal, and he does it with an exceptional effort in wrist flexion. Now, this round isn't an official pin. They actually restarted this round, but Krasimir does go on to win it. But this round does highlight an amazing way in which a dominant fundamental and wrist flexion can be everything you need to win a match. Let's have a look. There's the start in real time. Look at the wrist flexion from Krasimir Kostadinov there. He's totally taking away the pronation of Arsen Liliev. He is totally denying his ability to top roll. Arsen having to come into a defensive hook, which is not what he wants to do at all. And from there, the side pressure access for Krasimir is significantly better than it is for Arsen. Amazing stuff, all controlled by the wrist flexion off the go. Right. Ooh. I want to go back there one more time and have a look at that. I don't have a slow motion replay. I do apologize for that one because this one is worth it. Just going back. Okay. The most important thing to see in Krasimir Kostadinov's start. And ready for it. Here we go. Look at the way the wrist flexion. I've paused it right there. The wrist flexion is set, and it's meant that the pronation of Arsen Liliev has been collapsed. It means the pin route for Arsen Liliev is no longer just simply sideways. It's now out and around and back over. And let's watch it again as it plays out. The wrist flexion gets set deeper and deeper and deeper, and that's all Krasimir is focusing on until he feels Arsen come into the defensive hook, and then Krasimir applies the side pressure and goes on, and like I said, wins the match. And I think Krasimir actually says this is his favorite moment in the sport of all time, was beating Arsen Liliev in this WAF championship final. So very, very good example of dominant wrist flexion. Now, of course, as you can see by who is on the screen here, we are talking about side pressure. The man on the left of screen, Todd Hutchins, commonly known as the side pressure king, and he's against Matt Mask, who is one of the most significant and explosive top rollers in the world of arm wrestling. Let's have a look at the way Todd Hutchins uses side pressure alone to absolutely crush Matt Mask. There it is. Let's have a look at it in a replay. Slow motion, okay. I want to give you a couple of things to look at before we run with this slow motion replay. Okay, have a look at how Todd doesn't worry if his wrist goes back. Okay, it's not always about wrist flexion. In this case, wrist flexion, not a concern for Todd. He is about just getting tied to his opponent, driving sideways against all else, all costs. It doesn't matter. Todd just cares about going sideways in this match. Let's watch it in slow motion. Okay, the initiation from Matt Mask, the wrist goes back. Todd just drives into the side pressure. You can see the surge from Matt Mask there, not getting through at all. And Todd just leans over sideways and totally and utterly suffocates Matt Mask there in his ability to pronate and counterattack. All right, ladies and gents, there we have it. Some great examples of each of the fundamentals of arm wrestling and how a dominant version of each of those fundamentals can be everything that you need to win in a match. Now, of course, as I was saying, there is a great way to combine all these things, and going all in on one fundamental can be the greatest thing you've ever done, but it also can be the detriment. If you find someone that you're against that has the ability to counter that fundamental because of their biomechanical advantages, they might be taller than you, shorter than you, big hand, small hand. Each of those things have their own advantages, so you don't always want to necessarily go all in on one. But as we've just seen here in this video, some amazing examples from some of the greatest arm wrestlers known to mankind of how each fundamental can be truly an amazing weapon. Alright guys, let me know what you think in the comments below. Let me know your fundamental of choice. Which do you think is the most dominant? And if you could add 20% to one, which one would you choose? Are you tall? Are you short? It kind of changes the picture. There's many ways, and it's actually one of the things I love most about this sport is that there is no one way. There are so many ways to get to the top of this sport, and there is no one body shape that is perfect either. We see short people, tall people, big hands, small hands. All of those different makeups have examples of people making it all the way to the top. So it's one of the best things about the sport. It's one of the things I love most, and I'm very intrigued to know what your thoughts are as well. All right guys, hit like for me, hit share for me, and subscribe if you haven't already. It would mean the world to me. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this one, and I'll see you next time.
Yes, that's a man!